welcome my brother Chandler Moore. Come on. Everybody put your hands on it. Come on. Yeah, yeah. We're ready for you to move. We invite you to fill this room. Come take your rightful place. We need you now. I need you to raise it. We're ready for you to move. We invite you to fill this room. Come take your you belong here, God. We need you now. Come, Holy Spirit. Come touch your people. Come, Holy Spirit.
I'll be reading from Matthew 18:21 through 35, and it reads as follows. Then came Peter to him and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven like unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But for as much as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. So this is a parable about an unforgiving servant. Peter asked the Lord, how many times should he forgive a person that wronged him? 7 times? And the Lord told him not only 7 times, but 77 times. And it went on to say, there was a king that called all the servants that owed him money. And there was one particular servant that owed him 10,000 bags of gold. Unfortunately, the servant didn't have the money to pay his debt. So the king ordered the servant, his wife, his children, and all that they possessed in order to pay the debt. He ordered them to be put in jail until they was able to pay the debt. Verse 26. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence, and he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. Now, the servant, after the king forgave the servant of his debt, the servant went on, the servant got down on his knees and begged the king to have mercy on him, and he would, until he was able to pay him. So the king was moved with compassion, and he let the servant go free. And not only did he just let him go free, he also forgave him of his debt. So the servant, when he started choking when after he went and found another fellow servant that owed him money, he started choking him and told him to pay him all that he owed him. And he didn't have compassion on him. The fellow servant was saying, have patience with me until I can pay you all. And he didn't. He had him thrown into jail. Verse 31. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that, he had called him and said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desirest me. Shouldest now thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee. And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that debt was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses. Now some of the onlookers saw what had happened, and they knew the whole story. So they went to the king and told the king what had happened, and the king was very angry. So he called for the servant, and the servant came to him, and he called him wicked. And I can just imagine he was telling him, the audacity of you. I forgave you all of that debt, and I let you go free. And you went out and found your fellow servant, and you choked him, and you wouldn't forgive him. You didn't have mercy on him the way that I had mercy on you. So likewise, that's how the Lord feels about us. When he forgives us, and we can't do the same for our fellow servants, our fellow brothers and sisters. As I was preparing this message, the words compassion, sympathy, and empathy came to mind. And I Googled compassion, and this is what it said. It said, compassion motivates people to go out their way to help others. Compassion is often regarded as having sensitivity. Compassion is to show kindness or sympathy. Now, sympathy is feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Now, let me give you a scenario. Now, you have a coworker that tells you that they're just behind on all their bills and they're short on the money, and they needed the money to pay their light bill, but they didn't have it. Empathy is when you can relate to your coworker because you've been in that same situation. Sympathy is when you may or may not have been in that same situation, but you can sympathize with them, and because you hate that they're going through that situation. Now compassion is when you understand that they're not able to pay their bill, and you can actually relate because you've been in that same situation. And because you have it to do, you go ahead and bless them and pay their light bill. Now, anybody that knows me know that I have a heart for people. So I consider myself a pretty compassionate person. And how many of you know that when we can sometimes think highly of ourselves until the Lord shows us differently? He shows us otherwise. And while I was preparing this message, he started showing me times when I wasn't compassionate. And one time in particular is when my granddaughter, I had to take my granddaughter to work, and she was on the other side of town getting her hair done. And she had to be to work at a certain time. So I'm running late getting on the interstate. And when I get on the interstate, I run into traffic. And traffic was backed up. I instantly got agitated. So when I got up enough, I seen that there was just a 2-car fender bender, and it caused all that backup. So I looked over and I was fussing, and I said, they should have been paying attention. So right then, I missed an opportunity to show compassion, because instead of fussing and being short, I could have just prayed for that person. Prayed that the situation wasn't as bad as what it was. And praying that nobody was injured. And I know sometimes it's hard to have compassion when you can't relate, which brings me to principle number 1. Just because you cannot conceive it doesn't mean you shouldn't believe it. I'm going to repeat that again. Just because you cannot conceive it doesn't mean you shouldn't believe it. What do I mean? Well, I'll tell you. Let me give you an example. It is possible to work your entire life and have everything you desire because you worked so hard for it, and turn around and situations and circumstances happen and you lose everything. Bam, everything is gone. And then you come across this incompassionate person and they are wondering how that happened, because in their mind it didn't happen to them. You should have had enough to stay afloat. That's incompassionate. Now, I know a lady who was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and it's some kind of muscle disorder that causes severe pain, fatigue, sleep deprivation, and depression. So the lady's daughter showed little compassion because she felt like her mother was being lazy. So the daughter started telling the mother what she should and should not be doing and what she can and can't do. So the mother got agitated and asked her, have you ever had fibromyalgia? And it made the daughter think, sometimes we can't show compassion when we don't know what we're actually dealing with. Until we're faced with that same situation. And I'm talking about compassion. I wouldn't dare want a person to get in a situation to need help and can't get it. So if you've never been without a job, I pray that you never be jobless. I pray that you never lose a job. If you've never been sick, I pray that you never get sick. I pray that if you've never been without a home, you'll never become homeless. Now, sometimes people can't handle certain situations. So some wealthy people, they can't handle being broke. And likewise, some broke people can't handle being wealthy. Some wealthy people, they'll commit suicide or lose their mind if they go broke. And I was reading online one day where this rapper, I think it's name, and I'm pretty sure the children know what his name is, but they call him Lil Uzi Vert. He paid $24 million to have a pink diamond embedded in the middle of his forehead. Oh, okay. Now, principle number 2. Compassion is not bound to your inner circle. It's for those in need. As I said earlier, compassion is not just the ability to sympathize and empathize with people, but it's also the ability to assist if you have the resources to do so. 1 John 3:17 says, But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him? Now, in the past, I thought I was showing compassion because I was helping my family members. And quite frankly, that's pretty easy to just help family members. I didn't really think much of outsiders. As long as I was helping my family, I thought that was enough for showing compassion. But the Lord dealt with me about that and let me know that I was not only enabling them, and I was actually enabling them, and wasn't allowing them to be self-sufficient. Your compassion should extend also to outsiders. The true giving is when you give to a person in need, like a lady at the grocery store that doesn't have enough money to buy all the groceries that she put in her basket. Compassion is when you standing there looking at her and you have enough money to help her pay for her groceries. That's compassion. You're seeing a need and you're meeting that need of a person. Now, principle number 3, compassion is to look beyond your own pain to see the pain of others. My husband and I both lived in the projects growing up, so we can relate to the struggle. I lived in a brickyard and he lived in Gate City. So we came up struggling and we knew how it was. And I think this is what makes us such compassionate and giving people. I thank God that my husband and I are equally yoked in that area, because we would definitely have an issue when it comes to giving, because I just feel like you definitely have to help people out if you can, if you're in a position to do so. And some of you may have heard his testimony about his BC days, his before Christ days. He understood the concept of giving. So he used to buy people clothes, cars, food. He paid bills. He bought furniture. He pretty much done everything. He even paid for funerals. So instead of people calling it Gate City Projects, people used to call it Mark's Village. And I want to give you a kingdom nugget. And true compassion not only means feeling another person's pain, but also being moved to help relieve it. Before I close, I want to leave you with these words. So, stop walking around downgrading people because of their struggles. Stop acting like you never had to call and get an extension on a bill. Stop acting like you never had to eat Stop acting like you didn't have to eat what you had because you couldn't eat what you wanted. Stop acting like you didn't have to catch a car, catch a ride on the bus or with another person. And stop judging people. I always remember your struggle, someone else's struggle today can be yours tomorrow. If we don't continue to show compassion, you can fall into that same temptation, that same situation rather. Don't be like the servant don't be like the unforgiving servant. It is my prayer that this word has charged you, challenged you, and most importantly, changed you. And until next time, KBB, let's build.